on YouTube. Okay.
What's the link on YouTube so I can?
I'll put it in the chat once it comes up. Thank you everyone for joining us this evening. We appreciate your time to in showing up tonight. We have a wonderful lineup of speakers. And I'm excited because I don't have no idea what they're gonna say. But I know it's gonna be good because I looked them up. So I know it's gonna be good. So we have a lineup normally, but I'm gonna go a little bit out of order. But we're always gonna start with a word of motivation from Dr. Bull, because we need it, especially right now. So I'm gonna make it very hard on you today, Dr. Bull, because people are burnt out. It's been very, very, very intense. It's like no other campaign that most of us who have done campaigns have done. We've had a presidential campaign that's been only 3 months old. And it's at a time when our world, not just our country, is in danger of falling in the hands of people who just don't care. So there are a lot of people, not just here, not just with us, but in many other groups that I belong to, many other settings that I belong to, that are really stressed and burnt out and feeling the pressure and feeling the fear. And I'm gonna want you to go deep tonight, Dr. Bull, because we really need that today. But we have Representative McLeod, who can only be here for another 15 minutes. So I'm going to go kind of off and see if I can bring her in. I was trying to get her own link, but I don't think that happened. Right, Stephanie? Oh, it wasn't you. Yeah. Udi, was that you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we need to bring in Representative McLeod. Let me see if I can, oh, there she go. Allowed to talk and promote a panelist. There she go, perfect. So the Honorable Donna McLeod is from Georgia. And I've heard some great things about you from Udi, and wanted to give you a couple of minutes to speak to us about the wonderful state of Georgia and what people need to do to ensure that they vote, and that we organize and get the vote out in Georgia, and what some of the pitfalls may be going on right now in Georgia.
So thank you all. Fatma, is Fatmata? Fatma?
Exactly, Fatmata. Exactly the way it looks.
Thank you all for having me this evening. And thank you, Udishi. We've been in these trenches a long time together. Obviously, I'm the first Jamaican born to serve in the Georgia House of Representatives. I served 2 terms in the Georgia House. And so I'm very familiar with the politics of all of this. We just got through the voter registration deadline on the 7th. And of course, we were intentional in making sure that people understood that they needed to check their voter registration status and get registered if they weren't registered, or re-registered. And of course, we also encouraged people to change addresses. So that's done. Now we're looking at coming up on the 15th of October, which starts early voting in the state of Georgia. We are a battleground state, and we've been in this position for a few years now. I live in Gwinnett County, which has been a county that has been a central part of changing the demographics in the state of Georgia. So we are we're very, should I say, climatized now to having that pressure on us. But what I really want to say to folks, there's a lot at stake. If anybody has a chance, I And I don't know, I haven't been here from the very first meeting, but if there's been any discussion on Project 2025, and I know people like to say, oh, it's, you know, he doesn't have anything to do with it. His name is mentioned about 300 times through this document. And so it's important for us to know what this document is saying. And it's literally saying they want this country no longer to be a republic. And a republic means that the people are the government. And these folks went to war in the 1700s for taxation without representation. And we want to make sure that that doesn't happen in this state and in this country anymore. Representation matters. So that's why you need to get out there and vote. The other thing I really want to stress on people all the time, people tell me they're not in politics. And I say, well, you're not in politics, you're not running for office, but politics is in you from the day you're born to the day you die. The day you're born, you get a birth certificate. The day you die, you get a death certificate. And all the way in between, everything has a bearing on the political process. And that's one I want to make very clear. There's a process. The political process is the means in which this representative democracy requires us to do in order to get somebody at the table that is going to be your voice, right? That's the political process. The bigger part is when you get to the table and how we use your tax dollars and providing services. And people tend to feel guilty about, you know, needing help, but that's exactly the reason why we have taxation, right? In order to provide services to the people that need it. And it is obviously it's important for the government to have some degree of control because this is people's money, and any money that's being used that is collected from the people should be verified and accountable to the people that is using it. But you don't ride on the roads and think it's just for free, right? We collectively say we want to have roads that we can ride on that's smooth and clear, right? We also want to make sure that people stay healthy in this country. So providing healthcare is something we do morally, but it's important that we as a collective take care of folks. And so I don't know how much time I do have, but I do want to express upon people to go to iwillvote.com. It's iwillvote.com, and you will be veered back to your Secretary of State website. Once you put in your first initial, last name, date of birth, and the county you're registered in, and each of the state might be a little bit different, but you put in the required information and you will get the information you need, almost everything you need to make sure you can make a plan to vote. And so this is very important to make the plan to vote. As you can see, prayers going out to Florida. This is going to be disruptive. So there is going to have to be a plan to vote. And so every one of us have to make a plan, whether we're going to be voting early in person, if we're going to be voting on election day, if we're going to be voting in the state of Georgia, if you're going to vote absentee. If you're voting absentee in the state of Georgia, you will need to submit an application first to request that ballot. It is not automatically sent to you. There are states that do vote by mail. We're not one of them, but you need to make a plan and you need to know what your state requirements are for voting. Again, I can't impress upon folks more forcefully than for them to understand there's a difference between politics and governance. And if you do not play a part in the political process, you're going to get whatever somebody else did. You're going to get the voice of the person who did participate in the political process. And again, governance is different. And as a person who served in the Georgia House of Representatives, I know how our money is being used. And if people are not there fighting for you, it will be used, but it won't be used for your behalf. I've often said knowledge is the most powerful thing you give to yourself, but that the vote was the most powerful thing we give to each other.
Wow.
Wow is right.
That's deep. Thank you for those words.
Oh my
Absolutely.
goodness. Thank you so very much. Does anybody have any questions for the representative before she heads out? She has to go to another meeting.
Yeah, I have a quick question. Honorable McLeod, thank you for joining us. Thank you. Been doing this for about what, 10, 15, 12 weeks now. I know that due to the storms, I know the voter registration for Georgia was supposed to be the 7th. I know there was a lawsuit filed asking for an extension, and the decision was supposed to be made today. Do you know how that went?
I don't know how the decision went.
Mhm.
I will definitely double check, and I'll make sure Hootie knows this. I'm not
Okay.
sure, but you know, we're constantly in court in the state of Georgia from
I
the
know, right?
challenges and vote. Yeah, so it's a constant. It actually gets your stomach in a knot every single day, not knowing what is going to be up. So I'm hoping that they have extended it a bit because of and it was a southern part of the state of Georgia. We laughed in the state of Georgia and said there's two parts to Georgia. There's the metro area, and then there's the southern part. And they are very different in the way they behave. But at the end of the day, access to the ballot box is not an option. Let me make it clear. Black folks and women do not have a right to vote. We have the ability to vote. The right to vote in the Constitution of the United States was only given to white men that own land. And so when people run around and say, I'm not voting, I'm thinking, first of all, I had to pay for my ability to vote in this country because I wasn't born here. I was born in Jamaica and grew up in Ontario, Canada. So I paid for mine and I had to study. The fact that you will tell me that somehow, you know, I'm not going to vote, yet you really don't have the right. You have an ability, and 2/3 of Congress can actually undo that ability.
Yeah.
And people need to recognize, because they walk around as if, you know, I got this. This is no problem. I'm cool like that. No, it's not cool like that, because a lot of people died and a lot of people suffered. And I am grateful for those folks. I now live in the southern part of the United States, and I come here and I've lived a decent life. And if all of you on this call feel that it's worth fighting for, to hold on to this republic, to this representative democracy, then fight for it. And the best way to fight for it is to vote for it.
Yes,
Amen.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Representative. I think
Thank
we
you,
really
guys.
needed to hear that.
Thank you, guys. And I'm glad you all are doing this. There's a lot of calls going on, but each of us have a right and a responsibility to make sure that we are bringing as many people to understanding what's really at stake. Because if we don't let people understand it, and we wake up on November the 6th and look crazy, because it's happened before. It ain't like it has not happened before. And, you know, and then people come to you scared because of what they didn't do. And the last minute trying to say, I wish I had, it's too late. And, you know, we can get late to a party, but you don't want to get late to this party. This party has to be done. There's no do-overs. There's no do-overs. You got to do it now. You got to get out there and vote. If you can vote early, go out and vote early in person. If you want to vote by mail or you know, request your ballot. If you want to vote for election day, make sure you have a plan, because I'm telling you, at the end of the day, even on election day, anything can happen. So make sure you have a plan. You know, whether it's you're going to make it early in the morning or get off at lunchtime, I don't care. Make a plan to do so. There is nothing that holds us back. This beautiful mosaic country that we now all call our home. And for all the ones that say, I can't wait to go home, and you've been here 30 years, you should have got your citizenship, because I don't want to hear it from you no more. Okay. And so at the end of the day, you have the power in your hand to help all of us. That's why I said the vote is the most powerful thing we give to each other, because at the end of the day, it's us collectively that do with this. There's nothing wrong with business. Business is great. Business is great to have, because at the end of the day, you want competition, you want new ideas. There's nothing wrong with competition. But remember, any business that's coming into a city or a county or a state, guess where they have to go? They got to go through government. So you can act like you're the biggest thing since sliced bread with your business. If your business is not going to be processed in the state or the city or the county you're living in, you're not having no business. And so I just want to, I'm going to always keep it real, because that's just who I am. I'm Jamaican born and I can't help myself. But at the end of the day, we're in this together. We're in this together, whether we came here 400 years ago on ships through the Middle Passage, or you came here 10 years ago from Africa. We're in this together. We are the descendants of Africa. Africa is the place of humanity. And so we've shown them every time by when we step up how our humanity is greater than theirs.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. That's really enlightening.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's,
So-
you know, one of the things, let me say this, being at the table is not about being at the table for yourself. Being at the table is about being at the table to stand for something and for someone, and being there for the people you serve. It is not a title. It matters not. If you ran just to get a title, poor you, because if you weren't somebody's daughter or somebody's mama or somebody's auntie, poor you. Because if that's the way you're going to get a title, I'm sorry for you. But at the end of the day, know who you are and why you stood at that table. Why I was always
Oops. You're on mute, Representative. Somehow you went mute in the middle of your statement.
someone sent me for me to be on camera, so I'm on camera now. So I guess they kind of didn't want to hear my voice alone. But at the end of the day, I'm very aware of where I stand in this moment in time, and that my time here is limited. I have a grandson. I have a daughter that's going to be 38 this month. And so for me, it's bigger than me, because I'm going to leave my grandson behind someday. And I want him to be in a world that at least he can say my grandmother tried. And that's all that matters to me.
Oh. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you guys very much. I have to head over to another call on, it's actually a radio show right now that's going on, but I truly appreciate it. And Hootie, I appreciate you always, you know, making sure that we get the word out and we fight together. We just did a postcard write-in, and I showed up to the house and we wrote, and we did over almost 700 postcards that night, because we did it together. And that's how we work together. We always look out for each other. And I hope that going forward, we just continue looking out for each other, because it's really nothing that we can take with us. You come in here naked, you will leave without anything. You're not taking not one thing with you. Ask the Egyptians. They're in the museums right now. Yeah, they try to take some stuff with them, but it didn't work out. So I just want to thank you guys very, very much for the opportunity to speak. And I hope that everybody that's listening really wants to see this country survive, and in the way that we came here to, because a lot of us chose to live in the United States now, that you really want to fight to keep it and make sure that we all move forward together, because we cannot go back. There's nothing back there, especially for Black people. There's nothing good back there for us. Not in the United States of America.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great evening, everyone. And I know the rest of the program will be great. Please, everyone that's on here, just, I don't know where everybody lives, but be safe wherever you are. And also just get out there and vote, because the democracy depends on you and me.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you. And have a good day. Thank you so much.
You too.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
evening.
Goodbye.
Okay, so we're gonna go a little bit out of order because our speakers are here, but I feel like we really need a motivational talk. So maybe let's let our speakers speak in case they have to leave. And then, you know, we can kind of go back to Dr. Bull. So Dr. Fawad, do you want to introduce Dr. Nelson?
Yes, guys, again, we're grateful for have Dr. Nelson Louier to be with us. Obviously, Dr. Nelson is as a distinguished physician over 20 years of experience in internal medicine and pediatrics. He's also the president of NAPAC, which is Nigerian American Public Affairs Committee. Dr. Lawyer, thank you for being with us. I know how busy you are. Please, let's hear from you, what you have to share with the community.
Well, it's a pleasure. Thank you for the invite. And it's good to see such great and amazing people on. And for those who are, back home, it's always good to be amongst people who look like me, sound like me, act like me, and share my own DNA, irrespective of where you were born from. There's a commonality that's each and every one of us. So, but I'll say this, that there's an awakening and a reckoning in the Black DNA. And there's a new beat that's on in our Black DNA. And only those who pay attention will hear it. And for those of you who are listening right now, you can hear the sound being expressed in Afrobeat. Afrobeat is just the beginning of that new beat that will turn into something else that will eventually lead on to our not just political freedom that we got way back in the 60s. Because if you look around, something happened to the entire Black race in the 1960s. Entire Black race, straight up. Here it was civil rights. In the Caribbean, it was independence. And in Africa, it was independence. And that's when we got our political freedom. But what you and I are standing here for today, other than the fact that we want to have somebody who would listen to us in office, who we can talk to, is to also organize, strategize for economic liberation. Because there's the difference between liberation and freedom. And that liberation is the ability to have all our resources to do what we want, how we want it, and express it in the way that suits and benefits us as a people of color, as a people of African descent. Because like I said earlier on, no matter where you were born, whether the Caribbean, Africa, Jamaica, whether you're Brazilian Black, or Haitian Black, or Japanese Black, guess what? They will not respect you as a Black man any day, anytime, anywhere, if they don't respect Africa, period. Because they will always look at you through the periscope of Africa. And as African immigrants who now chose the United States as home, and thank God for my sister who just spoke earlier on, amazing. We are not just asking to be at the table, but it's also time we begin to own the table. And own the table not just as one person, but significantly as a whole, so that we can also determine the narrative and all things that are discussed at that table. And that's why we're here. And I'm sure we're going to talk a whole lot more tonight as we move on. And I'll rest my case for now. Thank you again, and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lawyer. Thank you. Thank you. Guys, if anyone have any questions for Dr.
Well, let's go to wisdom, and then we do question and answer to make it easier. Okay, so Wisdom Cole is I think vice chair of Black and Gold PAC, but I believe you also do some work with the NAACP and has been a youth leader within the NAACP and an organizer as a within the youth community, and now has been graduated to being, correct me if I'm wrong, Senior National Director of Advocacy for NAACP. So he has been doing a lot of good work at such a young age. We've been getting these young people coming on here who are just over beyond what we were doing when we were the age. So, there's a lot of pride here. So I will turn it over to Mr. Wisdom Cole.
Thank you so much for that introduction. And it's an honor to be with you all today. As your sister said, I do serve as a Senior National Director of Advocacy at the NAACP and formerly the National Director for Youth in College. But for the purposes of this call, I'm here in my personal capacity, where I serve as the Vice Chair for the Brown and Gold PAC, which is the C4 arm of my fraternity, Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated, founded at Morgan State University in September of 1963. We proudly, with the PAC, endorse Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Walz for president and vice president in this election. I'm super excited that we were able to do that this season. We just brought back our PAC and are working to organize the brothers in our fraternity. But outside of that, I'm a Nigerian, right? I'm a Lagosian. I was born in Surulere and grew up there until I was about 3 years old. Before my family immigrated to New York, lived there for about a year, and then grew up the majority of my life in the state of California. And in growing up as an African in America, I struggled to find my place. I struggled to figure out, what are the things that I do? Growing up as a kid, I remember being called an African booty scratcher, as many of you may have heard before. And realizing that, it just kind of became cool to be African lately with Afro beats and our music and our food and our jollof and all of that, but recognizing that Africans have always been in America, and Africans have always been a part of making America great. And Africa has been a part of making sure that we are in the DNA of everything, that when it comes to civil rights, when it comes to justice, when it comes to our future. And so part of my journey in this country has really been finding my way. I started school at UC Santa Cruz, where originally, I aimed to be a medical doctor, but got caught up in the 2012, 2013 Black Lives Matter movement, where I was really challenged to understand my place in America and what I would do to support and uplift all of our Black brothers, sisters, and family. And so in that journey, it took me to understanding the need to build Black political power, right? For us to be able to accomplish anything here in America, as well as across the globe, we need Black political power. We need to be able to make sure that we can govern, that we can show our pride, that we can put forth a legislative agenda, that we can say that we are for these clear issues, and this is what we're standing on, and making sure that people understand that we stand on business. And so for the last decade, I've been working to organize and empower young people. And I'm excited to share, and it's great to be on this call with Dr. Aloya, because I just came back from Los Angeles, where I received NAPAC's Leadership Award. And so very excited to, be in community together and consistently working with others who are working to uplift all of us. But what I'm here to say tonight is to recognize how we can turn out young Black voters, young African voters, right? How can we ensure that their voices are heard? How can we ensure that the issue priorities that are most important to them are at the top of the ballot? And so part of that is recognizing that, one, likes don't equal votes. Yes, we live in a highly digital world. We live in a highly social media world, and it's important for us to share information at a highly effective rate. But it's also about making sure that we mobilize people, right? We make sure that we use our identity, that we use the issues that are most important to us. For the last 5 years, I've been advocating for the cancellation of student debt, and we've seen a lot of great strides in that fight, and that's because we were consistent and we were persistent, and we held our elected officials accountable. Because civic engagement is not just a once a year job. It is a job that we do 365 days of the year. And it's about making sure that we don't just vote, but we keep people accountable. And that we say that we're tired of seeing elected officials come into our community 2 weeks before an election, promising this, promising that. It's important for them to make sure that they have policies and plans in place. And so what I urge us to do is speak to the issues that are most important. Issues drive out young voters, right? Environmental climate justice, the economy, housing, education, the attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion that are happening right now in real time. I appreciate the person who shared the impact of Project 2025 for immigrants, because whether we like it or not, Project 2025 is here. And so it's up to us to stop it, to defeat it, to ensure that we have our resources, that we use our time, that we use our talent to do everything we can to ensure that we win this election. And so I want to encourage everybody who's here on the call tonight to donate. If someone can drop the donation link in the chat, that'd be really appreciated. But again, we have to use our time, our talent, and our tools, right? We have to be able to make sure that we are funding the movement and sharing our stories and ensuring that we are putting our agenda on the ballot. Because whether we like it or not, our futures are at stake. Our futures are on the ballot. The next generation of Nigerians, the next generation of Ghanaians, the next generation of Sierra Leoneans, and so on and so forth, of all Africans are on the ballot. And so if we ever hope to secure a future, we have to vote for a candidate who has shown up for our community time and time again. We have to put our voices, we have to put our votes, we have to put our time and effort towards ensuring that Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Walz get elected. Thank you so much for your time.
Wow, that is so great.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, do we have any questions from the fellow panelists for either of our speakers? And if any of the speakers have anything else they want to add, that'll be this be a good time also.
Well, I think basically he said so in such erudite manner and very clear cut principle on what we need to do and how we need to do it, because this is really important. And one of the things that's profound that he said, you know, we're here, and no doubt things are different now from us compared to, you know, when he came in earlier as a young kid. It is cool now to be African, and it's cool now to be African here in the United States, and they begin to really pay attention. And because they pay attention, and one of the most profound things that happened this year was when the hunger took on. Everywhere you went, it was all about Africa. For the first time, Africans are showing up. And one of the things we also start showing up where is at the ballot boxes. We need to start showing up at the ballot boxes. Because look, like somebody has said earlier on, and I say this often enough, some people are like, oh, I'm not interested in politics, I'm not involved. But guess what? If you don't think politics affects you, it affects how your neighbor think, works, eat, behave, or even buy. Your neighbor. And that ultimately involves you as well. And that's why, as president of the Nigerian American Public Affairs Committee, NAPAC USA, what we've strategically done over the last 13 years, and more so in the last 6, was come out, engage, but first of all, identify, because that's really important. Identify those with the capacity and the trust to lead, especially those in our community, and not just people who will come into office, and once they get there, for the name of the position, they're gone. You don't see them anymore. No, we identify those with the capacity and the trust to lead, who understand the message. We engage them, we educate, inform our community what it takes to get in the political process in the United States. And for those who can't or don't have the ability to go into the political space and run, we also do that in the areas of policies across board. Because at the end of it all, you may not run for office, but you can be a policy maker. And those are the ones that truly would affect your life on a daily basis, especially at the grassroots. People say politics is grassroots, is local. And I always say this, every successful politics is even more local. And that's why we encourage people at a state park level, where we have state park in major cities where Nigerians are present. We encourage individuals to run, and we support them. And NAPAC as a family come en masse to do that. Great thing we did recently was the Congressional Black Caucus, where we have the African reception at the Congressional Black Caucus in DC. We started way back about 8 years ago. It started with a small restaurant and a nice place. We put our small banner and we just talk. But one of the things that we need to understand as a people is consistency. Show up consistently, because consistency breeds confidence, and confidence brings trust. Because we'll be consistent in that level, all through the year, last year, our guest was the mayor of Newark. We held it at a place, if you know DC, called Moi Moi. And it was packed. It was great. And he spoke and we were energized. But one of the things we learned along the line was to get other people get involved, because you alone cannot run this race. NEPAC alone cannot run this race. And we understand that. And that's why it's called the One Voice Africa, because what we need to do is have a one voice. And we did that this year. We had over 1,000 people who registered and over 600 people who showed up for the One Voice reception at Washington DC reception for the One Voice. And that's huge. We never had that before. So we've seen progress and we've seen movement. And in NEPAC, we've also been able to help, get Nigerians elected in Georgia, in Texas. We've had people in New York as well, and people who ran across the country, though who never won. But guess what? They've tested the waters, they know what it feels like, and they help pull others along with the way. And that's what we do at NEPAC. But I'll tell you this, NEPAC is for everybody. It may be Nigerian American, but guess what? If you don't have a home base for politics, come join NEPAC. NEPAC.org, NEPACUSA.org. Check us out. You see what we do. And guess what? We have people who are non-Nigerians. As a matter of fact, I often joke, we say this. The chair of the New Jersey, my state, is from Zimbabwe. And she ran for election, she won. And this is how it is. We have Cameroonians, we have Haitians, we have everybody. Because as long as they understand the principles and the agenda of what NEPAC stands for, you are NEPAC, and everyone is NEPAC. And that's why not too long ago we had this reception again where we involved everybody, and we had over 400 people when we engaged the Kamala Harris campaign team. Over 400 people came on, 500 and something people came on, and they came to bear their mind and the values of what it is to be an African and to be African involved in the political process here in the United States. So I'll leave it. I'm sure there are questions on strategies of what we need to do so that we can begin to formulate an agenda, how to get our people out, how to get them involved, how to get them engaged, and then implement our plans and strategy. Thanks.
Here we have some questions in the chat, and I will say this one question I'll pose it to Wisdom as a question for young folks. What are we telling those college students who are protesting the issues in Gaza and feel very strong about these? How do you talk to young people in that? I know how I talk to them as a, but that's what I talk to Muslims about as a Muslim woman. But for young people in college, what do you say to them?
Absolutely, that's a great question. This is a generation defining issue, right? Actually, not even one generation, but multiple generations that this has been carrying on for quite some time. But you're seeing young people engage in this issue like no other, right? I remember being in college at UC Santa Cruz and being a part of the Students for Justice in Palestine and being a part of those protests and being a part of those rallies. And now from a national perspective, seeing so many students across the nation as the school year was ending, protesting, setting up encampments, as we are in the beginning of this new school year, still consisting to raise awareness about what's going on and demanding that this issue be addressed, right? Part of making sure that we are engaging in politics, recognizing that we have to elect a person who is going to allow us to continue the conversation. That's going to allow us to continue to advocate. It's going to allow us to continue to ensure that this is a priority issue, right? I think part of what needs to happen is making sure that, my mom always said you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you should listen twice as much as you speak. Are we really truly listening to our young people and putting them in positions of power that allows them to make decisions, right? Not just performative power, not just having them come and speak at this rally or this engagement, but being a part of the decision-making process. You know, every single college campus budget is connected to this war, right? How can we work to make sure that we are getting our college campus budgets divested from this war in Gaza? How are we making sure that we are building collective power? And how are we making sure that we are running this race from the protests to the polls and even after to ensure that we have accountability on this issue, right? You know, what we've seen across America is a demonstration of power. People saying that enough is enough and that this is an issue that must be addressed. And so moving forward, I think it's important for young people to continue that work, continue that advocacy, but that work doesn't stop by not showing up to the ballot, by not showing up to the polls, right? It only enhances and intensifies your work by ensuring that your voice is heard and that the issues that are most important to you are on the top of mind of every single elected official from the local level to the national level.
Okay. Another question we have. Let's see. This person says we have about 20 days to November 5th. What do we do? That's a loaded question. Who wants to take that?
Well, I have to run real quick, but I want to kind of go off of what Dr. Lai was talking about earlier in terms of how important not just the message is, but the messenger, right? Each of us who are on the call tonight are our messengers, our micro-influencers in our community, are people who are able to speak to at least 5 people, right? Who are able to be accountable for a starting 5 to make sure that they turn out. You know, it's very easy to say, hey, I assume that people are going to turn out, or I assume that people care, or I assume that people are aware, but are they really, right? This week is National Voter Education Week from Monday through Friday, where it is really our civic duty to make sure that people are educated, not just about what's on the ballot, but the process of voting in itself, right? There is so many steps to this process. It's easy for people to get lost. It's easy for people to not know exactly what to do. I just checked my voter registration status again. I thought I was registered to vote in DC, and it turned out that I wasn't. And so I re-registered to vote again and just got my absentee ballot in the mail. And so it's important for us to check our status. It's important for us to know where our polling locations is. It's important for us to know if there's the ability to vote absentee or vote early in my state. And I encourage everybody who has the opportunity to vote early because anything could happen on election day, right? And so we want to make sure that we are taking every opportunity to make our voices heard. And so I really implore everybody to be responsible for at least 5 other people, right? If you're a super voter, if you're an all-star voter, be responsible for 10, 15, 20, 24 for 24, right? Whatever that number that is important to you, use that number to ensure that those people who are in your community have access to the ballot and actually turn out.
Yeah. I mean, I think if I could go back to show that young people are really leading looking at history retrospectively, in the 1970s, young people were way ahead about the injustices in the Vietnam War, the disparities, why America was putting money into Vietnam War, the way people were recruited. In the 80s, young people were pushing the colleges regarding divestment of colleges regarding apartheid in South Africa, regarding U.S. companies in South Africa, divestment. Young people are leading this war regarding collective punishment with Israel's collective punishment in Palestine. I mean, another 10, 20 years, we're all going to know for sure. Most of us know that definitely anyone that's supporting this collective punishment is on the wrong side of history. So young people have always led, and obviously the adults, for whatever the reasons, are conscious or unconscious bias because of our paychecks or whatever the reasons are where we find ourselves. We can't tell the truth sometimes, but young people in college are always on the right side of history.
Somebody asked a question, see how somebody motivational, if they can answer this question. This person said that they know Black men who insist that they were better off under Trump and have now lost their jobs, mostly in the IT sector, and are angry. How how do you tell them to give VP Harris a chance?
Well, if I may take that, one of the things that we need to understand as a people is that the global economic downturn, it's global. It's not just the United States alone. I hear my Nigerian brothers and sisters screaming every day about how bad things are and the economy and all that. But one of the things we'll also see is that Sri Lanka went into almost bankruptcy. They chased away their president. We see all the whole thing that is running around the world. So whatever is happening is out of inflation and is still at the tail end of what happened with COVID and COVID-19. And unfortunately, those who made money are the 1%ers across the globe. Their income went up, while the rest of us are still struggling. And that unfortunately has translated down to what we see today, where people lose their jobs and everything else. But look, as a people, as immigrants here in the United States, first, we must learn how to connect. And when I mean connect, meaning your network. Because one, the population here in the United States is increasing. There's increasing competition across board. And you see the cohesiveness of other tribes or races or whoever, however you want to call it. Everybody's organizing. So in the midst of, dwindling resources, people go tribal. And that's what we're seeing. So you find that individuals who have to come together to, form an alliance among themselves to save themselves. And why am I saying this? We as Black folks as well must also understand that we as a people must increase the connectivity within us. By doing that, we must also increase the spending power within our community. And that's the only way we can save the jobs that we have. Because like I told you, in the area of dwindling resources, people go tribal. So if I own a company and I'm Jewish, and because of the economic turn, and I'm going to lose or cut back employees, guess what? The chance of me cutting back Jewish employees is less. But if I have a Nigerian or African or Cameroonian who owns a business in the IT sector or however, guess what? The chance of me cutting that brother off is less because that brother is mine. He identifies with me, but not just that. I would also make sure that he's an individual who has the skill set to perform and do his job meticulously. So I understand people are angry and the perception that, oh, they're doing better, they did better back then under now. Yes, but it's not just a Black thing alone. It's something global. Again, we need to increase the spending power in our community. And where they say somebody, I think I did say the $1 in the Black community lasts about a day. But actually somebody I said it's 6 hours. And that's where the problem is. If you look at the other communities, $1 lasts a week. And it's 3 days in the Spanish community, a week in the Indian. And you see what happens in the other community. And that's why they're able to circulate their money and create a bold stand for themselves. So economic downturn is here. And we'll see that it's up and down, but it does not negate the fact that those who would stand for you, view you as an individual, are the people who you need to stand for. And that's how we must say and understand that, look, we are in a pivotal time in our life where we have the chance to make a difference, and the chance to make a difference in our collective. And by doing that is, look, coming together, pulling one another along, and helping one another as we move along. And not forgetting, because one of the things that happens in our community is once somebody gets successful and is doing well, they take off. You don't see them anymore. And then they move on and they don't want to associate with the other people. And then when you talk about the economics of it, guess what? They don't want to be bothered with the politics involved. But when the push comes to shove, you see them coming right back to you and asking questions and seeking your help and seeking how you can help them solve their problems. But together, this is the time for us to be able to solve the problems. And how do we do that? By getting involved in the political process, connecting with one another, making sure that those who we can trust and have our interests at heart are in office and where we can speak to.
Thank you, Dr. Loya. I mean, obviously, for some of our new guests who are here today, I just want to give a reminder. We do have a donation link on the chat box there as Africans in the Diaspora of the Harris-Walz. This is a collective link that when you donate through there, $5, $10, $20, whatever you can afford, that money goes directly to the campaign. And obviously, us as Africans in the diaspora, we get credit for it. So if you haven't donated before and you've this is your first time donating, please go ahead and see that link in the chat box. I'm actually glad to hear that one of my my granduncles there, Dr. Nuni's on. He actually told me that he have donated the second time. He's been here. I'm gonna probably have him speak before the end of this conversation. So guys, if you are on there, please donate. Look at the link. Obviously, we get credit for that donation as Africans in the diaspora because as a collective site, we get credit for those donations. I know in the past, Africans have donated individually, but this time around, we get credit through the campaign for that donation. So if you haven't donated before, please go in and get that link. If you've donated before, please go and donate for the second and third time. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Well, I don't see, let me see what other questions that, yes, there are plans to mobilizing people. We have some links in the chat as far as activities at polling places. If you send us an email, we can connect you with the party. We have one of the Maryland Democratic Party, well, no, he's not here, or somebody from the coordinated campaign who's here. And if you put your, we put our email address on the chat. And if you email us for your, with an interest in being a poll watcher or helping at the polls, we will connect you with the party wherever you're living at. Because right now we have somebody here from Maryland, not around the country. Let's see, I think that's about all that's left in questions. And very quickly, the question about what's happening in Gaza, I did talk about it last week. It's in the recording. However, I'll say very briefly what I've said to my fellow Muslim members of my Muslim community, in that there's, of course, heartache and disappointment and pain. And it's really hard to say how you look at somebody who's lost 17 members of their family and tell them, you know, this election is what it is and you need to do A, B, C, D. However, as I always say, we only have we have binary choice. It's either going to be Kamala Harris or it's going to be Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been very, very clear as to where he stands. He has told Netanyahu, if I come into office, I will allow you to finish the job. He has said it. He's not, he doesn't provocate, right? He was very clear. Vice President Kamala Harris has said repeatedly that she believes in a two-state solution, that she believes in Palestinians' right to self-determination and to finally have freedom and live in a freedom to live, right? She's been very clear and is working towards diplomatic solution. We know that a lot of what we see between the United States and Israel is US policy. However, you also as a community want to have someone in office who you have a chance to speak to and have a chance to meet with. She just met with a group of Muslims and Arabs in Michigan. The uncommitted group has now are promoting not necessarily endorsing, backing Vice President Harris, because they also know the danger of a Donald Trump presidency. And if you link that with the House and the Senate, we are in a lot of trouble as Muslim Americans and Muslims overseas. And we know this. He put a Muslim ban. He said he's going to bring it back. There's no doubt what Trump is going to do that's negative for us. So if you're speaking to someone and they're asking these questions, that's basically what I say. The pain is real. No one should dismiss how people are feeling. It's real. Many of us on these calls have come from countries where we've had wars. Sierra Leone, we had a 10-year war. We have family members who disappeared. We just a lot, right? So many of us, we get it. We know the thing. It wasn't on television. They didn't show the rubble. They didn't show all the stuff. But we know the pain. So we should understand the pain people are going through right now who are from that part of the world. So, Dr. Aluya, you look like you want to say something.
Yeah. So now I went to Honorable Segun Adeyina was on. He's the honorable member of House of Assembly, former NAPAC member, chair, president, who got elected as a member of the House in Georgia. So he was on, and he just got off, and I wanted him to come up and say a few words when he joins up again. But he was just telling me that he could not be able to show his face. But I'll tell you this: when the debate took place not too long ago, they talked about everything else. Ukraine, Russia, Afghanistan and all that. Not once was Africa mentioned. Not once. And that is a continent of 1.3 billion people with $3.1 trillion in GDP. And nobody thought it was important. And like I said earlier on, if they do not respect Africa, they will never respect you, no matter where you were born. And that is why it's important for us to get involved in this game, in this process. We have a skin in this because there are policies concerning us as a people that is archaic. The policy concerning Africa is way back in the 1960s. And unless we begin to have people who listen to us, who look like us, talk like us, or share a common identity, those policies will remain. And we're not going anywhere. And that's why it's important that we also get in the process here where we elect members here in the United States that will sit at that table when those discussions are being made for those policies. And who would also call up and say, you know what, I want this thing changed. I want the policy concerning Africa changed. And those negative influences and factors that affect our resources, our people and all that, I want them changed. Those influences that's causing wars in certain countries within the African continent, those policies need to change, period. But for us to get there, just like everybody else is doing, and that's why Netanyahu has the impetus and the boldness to do what he's doing, because he has people who sit on those aisles backing him up and backing their agenda, and not just that, backing their interest. It's all about interest as well. We as Africans, we must begin to understand what our interests are. And in doing this, we have to be strategic, but not just strategic in our interests and plans, but we have to be intentional. A few times I've said this. How do we begin to do that? First and foremost, and I take it in two prongs. The first prong is internal reconciliation and strategy formation. The second prong is external affiliation and association. And I'll give you a little bit what the internal reconciliation and strategy formation means. Look, we need to reconcile our issues concerning us as Africans here in the United States, guess what? We're black. Some of us came here 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40, but some came 500 years ago. And there's always been a bad blood between those who came 500 years ago and those who came a few decades ago. We need to reconcile that and make them understand that their fight is our fight. Our fight is theirs as well. So that once that is done, then we can truly have a voting power and bloc that makes sense. I'll tell you this, that from 2019, the buying power of the black man in this country was $835 billion. 2024, it went up to $1.7 trillion. The buying power. That's how much money is in our hands. But guess what? That money is not staying amongst us. And for the African immigrant in this country, our buying power is $300 billion. We paid over $29 billion in federal taxes. We're here to stay. And we have a skin in this game. For us to be able to do that, we must reconcile our issues. And not just that, even the issues concerning us as black folks, even Africans here. Oh, Francophone Africa, Anglo-African. That's the division that was made back home. Oh, this tribe or that tribe. And we translated all of it here. I'm Haitian, I'm this. Your skin is lighter than mine. We must begin to reconcile those things as well. When we are able to do that, and it doesn't take everybody to do that, because I'll tell you this, change often comes, but by the determined will of a selected few. Change often comes, but by the determined will of a selected few. Those people who are determined, who selected themselves to do the job, like you and Dr. Sharif and Fatimata and everybody who's doing right now, that's what the change will come from. And these are the people who spur the spark that will eventually come to the point where we reconcile our issues. Because like I said earlier on, they reconciled issues in the 1950s, and the outcome happened in the 1960s to the entire black race. Let's reconcile again. And when we do that, we begin to formulate strategies. Strategies upon which how we engage one another, how we engage people within our community, those outside our community, and form ways where we become significant, but not just significant, but relevant. Now, the other prong is external association and external affiliation. What do I mean by that? You associate with people who say, you know what, I want something from you guys. I don't care about you or what you feel or what you want. I want something from you. For instance, what China is doing to Africa. They don't care about us. You think they do? They don't. But what they want is our resources. All right, you want our resources? We give you our resources, but we need your technology. Even if it's stolen, we want it. So that as you get what you want, we get what we want as well. And we will develop. And we settle our issues amongst us. The other aspect, which is affiliation, is this. I mean, before that, the Jewish people did it in this country during the civil rights. Look at Jewish men who walked down the bridge in Salman. There's a rabbi, what's his name now? A Rabbi Abraham Hesh. And there's a whole story of what the Jewish community did with the civil rights movement here in the United States, because they understood that their agenda for the freedom that they deserve is also tied with civil rights. And that's what happened. Things have changed now. So we must begin to do that as well. Now, the affiliation aspect is this. African Americans who are here, we understand their fight is our fight. My fight is theirs. The Kenyan understands his fight. If he's in trouble, I'm in trouble. The brother in Caribbean understand that as well. So that the things that identify us, connect us together, are the things we look for in one another, so that we can come together and come up with values and structures that will save us together as a whole. So that's one of the ways upon which we must face this and identify those who oppress us and seek out those who will help mitigate the stressors that are given upon us. And I'm sure if we follow this, There's no doubt again. That second wave of economic liberation will take place in the next 10 years or less. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Lawyer. Thank you. Dr. Bull, are you there? We would love for you to reignite and wake us with your RSVP. This process is definitely a fatiguing process. We need to re-energize ourselves. And let's see what you have to say, Dr. Bull.
Well, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Bull from North Carolina, and we are fighting very hard to turn North Carolina blue. And I've listened to a lot of speakers today, and I think I want to bring us back home to the modern Jim Crow, Donald Trump, because I think we are looking at what is a post-Kamala Harris presidency, which will be great for all of us. But I think, when the fox is in the chicken coop, you don't ask who left the gate open, get the fox out. Donald Trump is a fox. And today, I think we need to focus on ourselves as Africans. And we are this chicken that he sees right now. We Democrats have been following this election. We're talking about policies and policies and policies and policies. If Kamala Harris were to give everybody $10 million in Montana, it will still be red. It has nothing to do with the economy. Let me repeat that. If Kamala Harris were to line up everybody in Montana and give them $10 million each, Donald Trump will win Montana. Let us not be fooled. This is about the reignition of Jim Crow in the new format of Project 2025. It's about segregation, it's about prejudice, it's about racism, it's about discrimination. And that's what a subset of Americans wants to institute. If you flip this coin around and just say, the news that came today that Trump gave Putin COVID kit when he was saying COVID was a hoax. If that was the Biden administration with Kamala Harris as the vice president, the election is over. It's over. If Kamala Harris were to call Donald Trump stupid, a fool, mentally disabled, the election is over. It's over. Lindsey Graham and all of these guys will be on TV. It is over. I think we need to wake up as Africans. The metaphor for this election is immigration. And quickly we realize it's not about the brown people who came through the wall. They're using it. It's by those who came through air into America. The Asians, the Congolese, they didn't come through the wall. They did not climb through Texas. He's made it clear day one, TPS as we know it is done. And we know in Africa we are susceptible. It's going to happen. Because as the previous speaker said, they are going to stimulate a war, a problem in Africa, and those who are here would be held back. And Donald Trump says it's not going to happen under my watch. If you burn your country down, we're going to put you in the plane and drop you in the fire. No TPS for Liberia, no TPS for Congolese, send everybody home. It's about Black people. Let's say that's the policy. Name one policy that Dr. Donald Trump has put forward this election. Asians eating dogs and cats. Congolese. It's about Black people. It's all about Black people. Let us not fool ourselves. There are two tables. It's binary. It's the Donald Trump table. And on that table, we cannot RSVP to that table because of who we are. We are the menu. Roasted, toasted, deported, deranged, vermins, whatever you want to call it. And everything that you guys have articulated about being together, whatever it is, we would all be scrambling individually with the next Donald Trump presidency. Nothing is going to work for Africa. Nothing. He's one of the presidents or one of the leaders who will never visit Africa in modern day history. A president will never, even in his second term, will never visit Africa, would never give anything to Africa, and would set Africa for destruction. So let's forget about all this policy about housing. Let's forget about this policy about $6,000 for newborn babies and $50,000. See, we Democrats, we speak to ourselves because we're not convincing any Republican. We're not convincing no one in Montana, Idaho, Kentucky, Tennessee, Louisiana, nobody. We have to convince our own Democrats to vote for ourselves because we are philosophical, and we Africans are philosophical too. We have 26 days, 3 hours to go. Let's forget about policies. As Africans, we have to fight for ourselves. Let us think about how some of us got to this country, and if Project 2026, 2025 is in place, how many other Africans will have that same opportunity? Zero. Zero. It's zero. How many Africans will have businesses here? Zero. When we fill out applications, there's going to be 2 lines, citizens and naturalized citizens. Lindsey Graham just introduced a bill to stop birth by citizenship. During this election, they're sending us, they're not dog whistle anymore, they bark. These guys are barking it loud now because they're so emboldened. And so we really have to be intentional and serious to say, if we need to fight for Africa and Africans, because this fight for Africa, Africans in the diaspora started with the Sierra Leonean, with the Amistad, to end slavery in this country. So we should give credit. It started with an African to say it's going to end with the Amistad mutiny that came in to New England. And we have to continue this fight. And we have to fight for ourselves now in these 26 days. This is not about anything else. It's about democracy and nationalism, white nationalism. We need to recognize it and call it what it is. It's about policy and racism, period. We need to recognize it. So let's forget about this 6,000 and this 25,000 and this 50,000 and start convincing people she has the policy and all of that stuff. As Fatmata stated, what are your choices? Who is more likely to protect African democracy? Kamala Harris or Donald Trump? Think about African leaders who are waiting now for Donald Trump to win, to start asking for 6 terms and 7 terms and be Putin in Africa. Every African leader wants to stay there forever. You think Donald Trump is going to say, oh, there's democracy issue in Sierra Leone, please stop the election? He doesn't even care. He wants to have 6 more terms here. So think he's going to stop an African leader? No, Africans, do what you want to do with yourself. He doesn't care about people. And I think that's what we have to realize, to fight for ourselves before we start policies. We have one table we could be part of. That menu, be at the table and design the menu for Africa, as you've just articulated, the Speaker of NEPA. You've articulated it beautifully. But if that table does not go to the White House, we are on the barbecue. Serious barbecue, Africans in this country. Because they've decided it's not about the brown people anymore. Because they could assimilate, even though they say it's about the wall and all of that stuff. No, we see it. It's the people of Springfield. It's the Black people, Africans, wherever we may be, that we, whether you have citizenship or not, that mass deportation, they've already set it up for it to happen. So let us think about this RSVP at the Kamala Harris table, and let's not put any policies around it. Let us be like the Republicans. We vote Democrat. We don't even want to excuse anything. We are going all in. And as someone said, this is the time we do it. So RSVP, as you stated, the R stands for registration. This is the time we talk to everybody and our cousins and auntie and everybody. Make sure you are registered, check your registration, period. If you're not registered, if there's a window, register. If you could go to DC, register, that's fine. Sponsor this campaign. We need the money, the S is on the to sponsor it. The V is to vote. We have to vote because our lives depend on it. Africa is 75% youth. Africa is at a boiling point for democracy, human rights, all kinds of issues, poverty, disease, and everything. The youths of Africa are going to spill one day, and it's going to lead to chaos. Who is more likely to step in to help? Is it a Kamala Harris regime with Tim Walz, or is it a Donald Trump who is going to say, asshole countries, let them solve their problems? We cannot be philosophical. It's a dangerous point. Every day that moves one, I get anxious. I get anxious for my children, myself. I get anxious for those who've left behind. I get anxious for Black people in this country that we are going to reinstitute Jim Crow. I get anxious for women. I get anxious for young girls, this abortion rights and all of that stuff. You know, we see this on the wall. We don't even recognize it for what it is. When Donald Trump says, vote for me one more time, you don't have to vote anymore. Not that democracy will not exist, but it's going to be a Jim Crow democracy. All the election laws will be changed. For a Democrat to win an election in this country, if Trump comes back, would almost be impossible. They're going to change a lot of things. He wants to change that one vote in Nebraska, and it will happen if he comes in, because it could be a deciding vote. So let us not think and philosophize. The philosophy will come after Harris wins, because we're going to hold this regime to save Africa and to help all humanity. Now is the time to just fight. There's not a single policy from the Trump team. Name me one, nothing. Everything is negative. Is that babies being born 9 months, they kill them. And people believe that stuff, and they go vote for it. That Kamala Harris is a mentally disabled person. And you have kids who are mentally challenged in this country, and nobody says anything. Even in the Republican areas, they have children who are mentally challenged, and nobody stands up to challenge it, because she's talking about a Black woman. It's a different disability when it's a female Black woman. Let's call it what it is. Let's not philosophize. She is a fool. She's stupid. Folks, let's leave the philosophy. Let's leave the policy. Let's leave everything behind. For the next 26 days, everybody that you meet who is an African, it is our duty. Let's forget about, we all fight for ourselves. Hispanic fight for Hispanic. Jews fight for Jews. Asians fight for Asians. We cannot be sitting there as Africans and fighting for the world. There's a time for us to be selfish. It's about Africans. That's why we meet every week. When others are exhausted, we are intentional and we are serious about it. Right now, it's all about voting, promoting, convincing people. Let's not forget that mission. Even though we're asking for the money to support the campaign, it has lots of money. If money were to change this election, Kamala Harris would be up 15 points right now. For her to be even or 2 points or Trump leading, can you believe that? It's scary, scary, scary that people decide that everything is done means nothing. And everything Kamala Harris has done means something. We need to take that and say, This election is about racism.
Indeed, indeed.
We have to call it exactly what it is. We have to call it. And Project 2025 is Jim Crow in modern form. And it's going to segregate us. It's going to take DEI out. It's going to take everything that benefits the poor children in this country who are minority, and it is just scary.
Yeah.
So, folks, the blueprint for success comes after November 5. But right now, as Tim Walz said, when you die, you could sleep forever. We need to stay awake for 25 days. And we need to stay vigilant. And to our brothers who and sisters who are insisting that they were better off during Trump, tell them the rest of America was better off during Clinton. That was one of the greatest era of all times. The Reagan era was even better. So we know, as somebody said, inflation and global issues, you would never be the same 4 years back. And they play that on the minds of people. And we just need to fight. And so to all of you here, I just say to you, find 5, 10, 15 people. The only way we could guarantee this election, you vote, and you assure other people, you take them to the polls and guarantee that they vote. And wherever there is early voting, North Carolina, October 17th, I may be first in line because I'm going to do it. From that point on, I'm going to drag and drive and go with anyone that I know who needs to go vote, because it's the most consequential election for Africa.
Thank you.
If Trump wins, Africa, democracy is gone. Economy is shattered. Dictatorship rules. And it is scary. So we have to fight for ourselves, because we cannot go to Trump and say, hey, my president wants to stay 10 times in power. He's going to say, me too. You go figure it out. So please, RSVP your place at Kamala Harris' table. Let's deconstruct that table where the fire is already set for the African barbecue, and the Congolese are the first to go, the Asians to follow. We don't want it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. I have Honorable Segun Adeyina on, if you don't mind. He's our rep from Georgia.
Sure. Let's be brief, but sure.
Honorable Segun Adeyina, I can still see you on. You want to say a word or two? Oh.
Okay, that's fine. So I totally agree with Dr. Bull. We need to continue to energize, organize, and mobilize. Chris, as well as Stephanie, any updates in the news for this week?
Wait, was Honorable Segun going to say something? I thought I heard him real quick. I'm ready. Took a week break, but I'm back.
Well, welcome back, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Chris did a great job.
Feeling a little better. I heard great things while I was away. Chris and I spoke during chat real quick, so I'll let Chris go first this time because I went first last time. So let's alternate and let Chris go first this time.
Okay. Is the Honorable Segun's got his hands up? Should we go ahead with the news or?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Segun. You know you're a friend of this group.
I do apologize. I can't show my face, but very well said, everyone on the line. This is it. We have 26 days left. And I know Georgia is one of the battleground states. I literally was canvassing today, and I ran into this professor, JD, for political science at Georgia State University. And we had a 15-minute conversation. And, you know, his white, and he couldn't understand where this country has gone to, where this democracy has gone to. And where we are today is something that he has never experienced. But he did remember when he was 8 years old. His uncle, one of his uncles was a PhD holder, and the other one wasn't, and was a Klan member. But the one thing he recognized and he realized at 25, he went back to school, to college. And he said, if not for that education, his eyes would not be open. You know, a lot of us on this phone are educated in one way or another. Either you own a business or you work for someone, you've gone through a college degree, and that's exposure. And we do understand that a lot of people in this country fall victim, even the ones that are so-called educated. So our job is, yes, our job is in our homes, is in our community, but we have to extend beyond that for this election. And I tell everybody, whether you're a Democrat, Independent, or Republican, if you want democracy to survive in this country, you have to do it by voting for Kamala Harris. I've been in office just 1.5 years running for re-election, and my second year this year. And the things I've seen in those 2 years has forced us to create a Georgia African Legislative Caucus, because our voices in the African diaspora community are not truly well represented. I know I'll come back and speak again in the future, but thank you for giving me a few minutes to speak. Let's vote, because our lives do depend on our vote this election. So thanks very much, and let's keep doing this, because, and thank you for doing this every week, because it makes a difference, and you have educated our community, and that's why people keep coming back to this call. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your word of wisdom there. So Chris and Stephanie, and after that we have Pastor Israel and Dr. Jononi.
Yeah, so quick update. I have already voted. Thank you. I voted last week. So I'm good. Try to get more people to go vote. But quick update. I was just talking to Representative McLeod on that lawsuit in Georgia where they were trying to extend the voting registration date from the 7th to the 14th. Well, the case was supposed to be heard today, but apparently the RNC intervened and they filed motions to dismiss the case. So nothing was done today. Similarly, in Florida, voting rights groups have been trying to talk to DeSantis to extend the registration dates, and he has refused. So they just recently filed lawsuits to extend those dates. So keep an eye on that. In Michigan, the RNC also filed a lawsuit to say that all overseas absentee voting should be canceled or removed. So pay attention to that. On the positive news, I know Dr. Bull just said not to talk about policy. Of course not. The rapper Plies said, if you don't want to join our barbecue, that's fine. At this point, you can stay at your barbecue. We have our own barbecue going on here. But the Harris-Walz campaign just introduced a good policy where they're going to be asking Medicare to help pay for those of us with adults, senior parents at home. They're going to be asking Medicare, Medicaid to pay for in-home care, which is a big expense that affects us, our generation. You know, we don't leave our parents behind. So just keep an eye on that. But thank you all for coming again with us today. And 26 more days to go.
Excellent. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Madam Stephanie, welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back. Good to see my fam. Well, my news is always more entertainment, on the entertainment side. So Chris really got down to the nitty-gritty of the professional news. But I was interested this week watching this exclusive. So in an exclusive interview with Fox News, Maria Bertiromo on Sunday Morning Futures, former First Lady Melania Trump discussed her support for abortion rights. A stance revealed in her upcoming memoir, Melania. She explained her husband, former President Donald Trump, was aware of her position from the beginning of their relationship and emphasized her belief in individual freedom and the right to personal autonomy without government interference. This revelation has sparked significant reactions, especially from pro-life advocates. And my response is just like Joy Behar of the host of The View. She accused Malala of misrepresenting her pro-choice views, calling it a big scam. In response, Melania said that this book was written months ago and that it was way before any of this started. My question to everyone, what do you guys think? Is this a ploy for them to say you could have two opposing views but still live cohesively as a marketing campaign to help Trump look more, you know, how would I say, more neutral, or not even neutral, but make him seem a little bit more human to say that his wife is opposed to one of his biggest achievements that he touts about, but yet he's still against it, but she's for it. So just something to say, The other thing I thought was really interesting, Alan Lichtman, political historian for 2024 election predictions, okay? On a special episode of the Excerpt podcast released on October 3rd, he discussed, centered around the upcoming laser-tight presidential election in November. The episode featured historian and professor Allen, renowned for his accurate predictions of 9 out of the 10 last U.S. presidential elections. Unlike traditional methods, he relies on the Lichtman, uses a system of 13 keys, big long story. But anyways, 2 days ago, he was on the Chris Cuomo show, and Chris re-emphasized had he changed his mind because the races were so tight. And so far, he has said that Kamala will win, and he's staying strong on that opinion. So yes, even Alan Lichtman, the political historian, says we will win. Thank you.
Excellent, 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 excellent. Pastor Israel, are you there?
Yes, I am. I am in the middle right now of a Category 3 hurricane. We just had a tornado go by, flash flood alerts and everything. So I'm going to try to keep this
you're out of
fast.
the Tampa area there. You're out over at Tampa. How's it? Are you okay? Is everything okay over there?
Yeah, we're okay. I'm in the Port Richey area, and because the hurricane went a little south, we're missing a lot of what they had anticipated originally. However, you know, there still is the danger of the surges. That's what is a big problem. And our wind speed is probably over 100. I'm hearing everything beaten against the walls here. So, but I want it to be on this webinar. You know, so anyway, I have a couple of things. Dr. Bull, I agree with everything that you had to say. You took the words right out of my mouth. Okay, today. One of the things that someone opened up about people being burnt out. All right. The reason people are being burnt out is because we've been approaching this election from a defensive point as opposed to an offensive point. All right. We need to go on the offense. All right. We keep talking about what Kamala is going to do. However, we need to understand Donald Trump has already been president. We need to be running on his record or lack of it. Okay, first of all, when people say I was better off under the Republicans, especially if they are African American, they need to understand that Trump inherited an economy that was on the upswing because of President Obama. Because of his mishandling of the pandemic is why the economy, when Biden and Harris inherited it, the economy was so down, even though it is on the upswing now. One of the reasons that a lot of African Americans, especially in IT and other areas, are losing jobs is because of the DEI initiatives, them getting rid of those initiatives. Because now colleges say, I don't have to hire, okay, I don't have to hire someone who is a minority or even a woman. I don't have to pay them, okay, equal pay anymore. All right. And they need to recognize that is part of the Republican agenda. Another thing that
Ms. Charlotte, can you
Yes.
please say that again? I wanted to put the spotlight on you when you said that. Can you please say that again for us? Because I'm going to want to cut this part of this video and put it out somewhere. Can you say that again for us?
Okay,
please?
where do I start back with Obama or
The IT jobs and the DEI
okay, yes,
and the
yes.
impact on us as Black people, please.
Yes. The reason that there is such of an impact on the African American or people of color is because of the DEI initiatives, okay, that have been cut through the colleges as well as jobs. They no longer have to pay us equal pay, which they never were paying equal pay. They no longer have to hire. Okay. They no longer have to do any of the things that were tied with a diversity and equity initiative. So therefore, whenever there are cuts, who are going to be the first ones that are cut? The ones that were hired through these particular initiatives, okay? That's why I'm also saying people don't understand, even with abortion rights, it's not just about abortion, it's about rights, because women's rights are tied in diversity and equity too. If a woman cannot handle her own body, she can't she can't be a manager of a job, she can't get equal pay. All of this stuff is tied together. And it's very frustrating sometimes that we do not give that message, okay, give that message out. All right. Another thing that we need to consider, as I say, especially with Black men, when you are dealing with Black men, you need to ask them, say, brother, if you had 34 felonies, where would you be right now? Okay, you'd be in jail waiting for sentencing. Brother, if you had been convicted of sexual abuse, where would you be right now? You'd be in jail and on the sexual predator registry. Okay, so don't say things are better off under Donald Trump, because there is a completely different system that he is being judged on. Okay, a Black man with a felony can't even vote, much less run for president. Okay, and those are realities that we need to really express, okay, express to them. Another thing that we need to do is to talk to the people about what their elected officials have done. Okay, the Democrats have put through initiatives that would benefit people that have been voted against by Republicans. Republicans want to keep their constituents poor, because if they keep them poor, then they have a platform to run on. Okay. And so the one thing that we need to understand is that if you put through a bill, how is it going to educate people on how it is going to affect them? Talk to them about the consequences of the fact that this was voted down. If someone sees this is going to benefit you and they vote it down, they don't intend to improve your situation. That is why we not only need to vote for Kamala, we need to vote straight down, okay, Democrats, so that she will have both the House and the Senate, because her as a president without the House and the Senate is going to do absolutely nothing. So we need to educate people about what the representatives who are currently in the House are doing. And that's the reason why they need to vote Democrat, because the Republicans will not see the people prosper. We need to, as I said, go back on Donald Trump's record. What did he do? He voted, okay, signed a bill for the top 1%. Whereas if they taxed that 1%, what they should have, they would have the money they need to pay for Kamala's initiatives. So we need to educate people.
Yeah.
We really need to educate people as to how these laws affect them. All right. The representative who was on talking about the right to vote was only given to white men who own land. Well, let me tell you something. As a person of color, freedom was not our right. Freedom was granted to us through an amendment, and amendments can be changed. When Trump talked about Black jobs, oh, he was serious about that. The immigration policy guarantees that we will not have people. And here goes another alert again. Okay, hold on a minute. That we will not have people that will be willing to work those lower paying jobs. So therefore, if we cannot get hired because of DEI initiatives, the only jobs that are going to be open are jobs that are typically lower paying. There is an agenda for the lack of immigrations or want of immigrations over here. Don't fool yourself. Okay. The same thing with about reproductive rights and returning those rights to the states. You need to look at the 1970s, what else went on along with abortion. There were a lot of forced sterilizations of people of color during that same time. And it was states' rights over reproductive rights. These people are sending messages, but a lot of you have not been here long enough to understand. I came through the civil rights. We walked the marches and everything. You know, I had relatives that were lynched for trying to vote. So when you talk about a seat at the table, my ancestors had to chop down the tree and build the table that we can come and sit on right now. So I understand where this country is going with another Trump initiative, okay? This is too familiar to me, okay? And the things that he is saying, I've already lived through them. So I understand where it is he is going. It's important that we come together. I don't care whether you are from Africa, from the Caribbean, or you are from America. If you are a person of color, we are one, okay? We are one. All right.
Indeed,
and if
indeed,
you don't vote, okay, just like he said, you're upon the menu. Oh, in fact, we are already on the menu.
Yeah.
So I think I've said enough today. I think I better go deal with some of these alerts that I'm getting right now. So Dr. Sharif, I may be floating up to Michigan.
Don't float up. Don't float up. Make sure you have your life jacket. Don't float yet.
All right. Thank you so much. And I appreciate all of you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Pastor, be safe, be safe, be safe, be safe.
Okay. Thank you.
Maureen,
So
I
thank
saw
you.
your hand up there, Madam Maureen.
Yes, we're gonna fight. We're gonna fight, and when we fight,
That was amazing. Oh my goodness.
I
Yes,
know.
Maureen, are you there, Maureen?
Yes, I'm here. I don't know what to say after such strong words and
You better stop preaching too. Come on. Let's go, Maureen. Say it. It is all excited.
No, I just wanted to remind people to sign up for the PA event. We would like people to sign up for, so you have an option for Saturday the 12th or 26th. Chris, if you could put up the link on there. Please, we need people to go to PA, do what we gotta do. We just don't want to be talking and no action. We need action. We need people to be on the ground. We need to unite and all go to PA and do our thing. We need to show up, not just talking and talking. We gotta show up. That's it.
Yes, ma'am. We gotta energize, organize, and mobilize. So basically, there's a sponsored trip by the campaign for October 12th to Pennsylvania, as well as October 26th. For those who are interested, there's a registration there. You need to register to sign up for what date works for you, October 12th, October 26th. Madam Mayeni, how are you?
Hey, Dr. Fouad, do you want to give some times so people have an idea? Departure and arrival times? Do we have any time?
Is it 7 o'clock?
Yeah, when you click on it, it tells you the time, 7 a.m. To leave. So yeah, each day, either the 12th or the 26th. It's imperative that we do something, right? We can talk and pontificate and give messages, and it's all beautiful and it's all great. But if half the people who logged in here tonight sign up to register, you don't have to drive yourself, and to go to PA, that's crucial, and knock on doors, that would go very far. If you cannot go out there, we still have the other link where you can sign to phone bank and or knock doors, at least for us here in Maryland, and there the other states. If you live in North Carolina or any of these other states, it's all listed in the form that says phone bank. We can connect you with the states.
Where do you want me to send it?
We need to get something done, and we need to do it as soon as possible because we don't have time, right? So please, phone bank, join us on the bus trips, or do it at your own in your own states. But if you live in the DMV, you know, we have Maryland, Virginia, DC. Come on, we can get this done and really make a difference.
Yeah. So I think I had Mayeni. Dr. Nooney, are you on? Are you still up?
Yes, hello.
I'll go after Dr. Nooney.
All right. Then.
What do you have to share, Dr. Nooney? And I know it's been a while. You've been here with us. You've done it several times. And I'm not going to tell everyone how old you are, but we're happy that you're here.
Give me 1
Yes.
second real quick. Dr. Aluya, we don't want to keep you if you have to go, but I don't want to, we want to thank you so much for making the time to come here tonight, but we don't want to hold you if you have to go. Don't feel like you're a prisoner by the Africans in diaspora, but we
That's very
appreciate you being
considerate.
here.
Thank
You
you
can
so
hang
much.
around if you
Let
want.
the
We
work go
are
on.
welcome to stay, but I want to give you the freedom to choose.
Right. And when Kamala Harris wins, we'll come and strategize.
Yes,
Indeed,
100%.
indeed, indeed.
100%.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Dr.
you all.
Luya.
Great work.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Have a happy
All right. All right, Dr. Nooney. Sorry,
Well,
my apologies. Thank you for thank you.
good evening, everyone, and this is a privilege to be able to talk, to say a few words to this group. I'm going to be very brief. In the first place, I have been following whatever discussion has been going on in this group, and I'm very impressed that we could come together as Africans and decide to make some difference in the way this country is run. And the best way we could make this country run is when we have an input in the elected officers. I know that there was a Sierra Leonean guy who for many years was trying to get into an elected office in PG, and he never succeeded in doing that, mainly because there are very few Africans that would vote for him, and the African Americans who were voting for him were not probably energized enough to vote for somebody who had an accent and was also Black. And in the first place, I want to let you all know that I am a retired worker. I'm a retired physician. And so, as Dr. Sheriff said, old enough, but still active to be able to come to this podium to say a few words. And the first good news I'll have to tell you is that I have voted and my wife has also voted. So already we're in line to be counted among those that are going to vote for Kamala Harris. I liked what Dr. Bull said, and I just to buttress a few of what he said, I'm very much impressed about the thought of us not being selective on what the previous president or what the Democrats have done in the past. Because as you say, there are certain times when people are asked, oh, are you better off this year than you were last year? The human mind is not mostly that retentive to be able to compare activities by yearly basis and so on. If you ask me, are you better off today than you were yesterday, I will be able to answer that in a much more in a much more accurate with a much more accurate answer than asking me if I'm better off today than I was better off a year ago. There's a tendency to forget even when you get the best. So what I'm saying is that there should be no need to answer that question before we decide on who to vote for. We should be able to leave the philosophy aside to say, for this reason, this person, I'm going to vote for this person, or I'm going to vote for this person, and so on. Look at the state of Maryland. I live in Maryland, PG County. Look at the governor, the past governor, okay, a Republican, and there are more registered Democrats in Maryland than there are than there are Republicans. But because of this philosophical thoughts, people will begin to analyze that this guy is a Republican, but in fact, he's neutral on democratic principles and so on. And so what happens is usually people end up getting to vote for people that are not in line with their own political views and so on. Then this is what we tend to adhere to, and this is what makes us fail in elections. I know most of you do remember the election of Hillary Clinton. Any one of us would have thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win that election so high-handedly. But what happened? Republicans went in, voted for Republican candidates, and the Democrats, I think, went in and decided to analyze that, well, she's a woman, she's this, she's that, and so on. The husband was a president, and they had to analyze all this. In the end, they ended up not voting for a woman at the level that she had to win. So let us forget all those this year. I think that's what Dr. Bo was trying to emphasize on.
Indeed.
Let us not think of how we were so many years ago under Trump. Let us know that Trump is a terrible person. Okay, whatever he's doing now, if other candidates had done in the past, I think they would have been chopped out of the ballot right before the time. Some of us remember Gary Hart, Edwards, and so on. Those ones went nowhere just because they said just flimsy, or their actions were not conducive to the general good of the people. But Trump could say any of those, and still, when I see the news and the projections that the elections are close, okay, I begin to wonder what is happening. Are the press saying that so many untruths, or that if this is real, what are these people thinking about before they decide to vote, and so on. So let us decide to work, even if we are not able to meet these people, knock at their doors, we should be able to call them on the telephone. We should be able to call them and talk to them and so on. It is amazing. I was talking to a friend last night, and one question I asked him was, I said, have you ever, these polls that they give, have you ever, has a pollster ever called you? I don't know how many of you would answer that question, if a pollster has ever called you to say, I'm taking a poll and this is what is happening and so on. I have lived here for so many years. No pollster has ever called me to tell me, to ask who I want to vote for or why I want to vote the way I want to vote. And the other thing is, no campaign staff has ever knocked at my door to say, look, I've come to campaign, I want you to vote for this and so on. So a lot of things are happening now, which I think would be very productive to Kamala Harris and the Democratic candidates that are on the ballot. Because as some other speakers said, we should not only think of the Democratic candidate, Kamala Harris, we should also talk about and be ready to vote for the person who will work with Kamala Harris, that is the senators and the congressional members. Thank you very much.
Indeed.
I'm happy. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Madam Maini, where are you?
Good evening, everyone. This
Good
was fantastic. I love coming to these meetings because it re-energizes me, right? So thank you so much for the coordination, and the speakers were, of course, stellar as usual. I did want to, of course, it's countdown, right? So it is really important, as Famata was discussing, we've got to really galvanize, we've got to really mobilize, so we have these opportunities that are coming up. So I know that I've reached out to my people, and I have about 5, 6 people who have registered, but according to the link or to the text message on the group chat, Fatmata, you said it's only you and Fuad who registered, and Dr. Sharif.
Yeah.
So did we get did I send the wrong link out? Because I know that we all registered.
I think what happened is remember we were partner. There's a new link because they were partnering with another group. So the original one, I don't think we're using that. There's a newer.
No, I selected the one that was the partnership one.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, with the 50, like they need 50 people.
Right.
I guess if we're not showing up, then I guess I've got to resend that link out, or resend the updated link.
Famata, can you address that? That's pretty odd.
What's the problem?
Maini was saying that they registered on that link that was asking that we need up to 50 people. And from what you captured the other day, it only showed that you and I were the only one that have registered.
Or that was for this Saturday. You said you did it for the 26th, right?
I did it for the 26th, yes.
Okay.
Right, she just showed me for Saturday.
Okay, all right.
That makes sense.
Okay.
That makes sense.
With that in mind, do we have the numbers for the 26th? Is that more viable? Do you know?
They're all viable. Like whatever people are available, we will take. We need all of it. So if people can do the 26th, that's great too. I mean, that does give us a lot more time and stuff, but it's ready. It's available on the 12th and the 26th.
Okay, all right. And so the other thing was the phone bank. Chris put out a link for the phone banking. I went to the site, but I didn't see where we could sign up for phone banking.
It's already at the bottom. It says phone bank. So it has all the canvassing, and at the bottom it says phone bank.
Because I want to send this link out as well.
Yeah, so it has the different battleground states to canvas, and then at the bottom it says phone bank, and you click on phone bank.
All right, okay, I'm going to try that again. But again, like I said, I think it's important that we start galvanizing, bringing people, bringing people out, bringing family members, friends out. I mean, this is it. We're down to the wire, and it's still such a close race.
Yeah, well, it's difficult, and then it's fatiguing. But like everyone have stated, we have to stay on and show some resilience, especially going out to those battleground states and doing some canvassing. Again, for those who are on here, if you have not donated in the past, there's a link on the chat there. Please donate. If it's $5, $10, whatever you have, donate. And if there's registration, please register to do the canvassing or phone banking of those who want to go to Pennsylvania on the 12th or the 26th. I am open for the 12th. Those who are open for the 12th, we'll see you on the 12th. Those who are open for the 26th, we'll all see you on the 26th as well.
And just so we so the location to meet is not on the form. You have to register, and I believe they send you the instructions of where to meet and when to meet, probably when it gets closer. Hopefully we get enough people. If not, it may not happen on the 12th because it's a bus. So if there's only 2 people, they may not pay for the bus to go to PA for 2 people.
Right.
But if we want to carpool, if people want to carpool, willing to do that too. We can see if we want to carpool to go out there on the 12th.
Well, it's 10:32. Anyone on this call that wanted to say something, wanted to share something we haven't heard from you yet, please introduce yourself.
Donation link is also in the chat. So please help us out. $5, $2.
We have Val Amadi.
Yeah, I see her hand. Val Amadi.
If
Is
they
he
still
still
want
on, or is he on mute, or?
He's muted. You can unmute.
I got
Val.
it. Hello.
Good evening, Val. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, good evening. I can't see myself. Am I on video or just voice?
I think you only paid for voice, Val. That's why you only on voice.
Are you serious?
You gotta put. You have to put your video on yourself.
I'm kidding.
I'm saving.
Yeah,
I'm saving. I'm
this is
saving.
Mary. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, anything I can do, I'm gonna do. I'm gonna
Yeah.
connect with that. Yeah.
I'm saving. I'm
better.
saving the rest of the money for Harris.
Yeah.
I'm
Go ahead,
saving
Mr.
the rest
Val.
for
Go ahead.
Kamala.
I
Anyway,
stand for Harris.
nice being on here. Thank you for for convening. I was actually invited on here by Dr. Luya, and I saw when our host did let him go. That was nice of you. He said he had to run. But anyway, I started and I listened to a lot of the things that you guys were saying, and I'm very happy that I was able to be here. I'm able to be here. And then over the years, we've had a couple of things done. We've been doing activism within the African diaspora community with Dr. Luya, Ugochukwu Nwokoro when he was the deputy mayor, and other people, So basically, Kamala, we're all galvanized. A lot of the Africans in the diaspora really want, Kamala to go through, to pass through, to win. A lot of my friends who are mostly from Nigeria, funny enough, some of them just like Trump for one reason or the other. They want to support Trump. But then, that's why the evangelism is very important. Over the months, what I've been doing is engaging people. When we go play soccer, talk to people. When you're on the phone, you talk to people. And funny enough, after talking to a few people, they tend to go for Harris instead of Trump. So we're going to keep talking. We need to do a little bit more talking, In the African setting, a lot of talking helps. So quickly, one of the points I use, and these are all facts, a few years back, I reminded them when they were having the immigration conference with Trump and a couple of other people, Trump was talking about Africa being an S-hole and all that. So I reminded them when Trump also asked the white senators, say, why can't they sort for people that will come from the blue eyes states, people with blonde hair, people from Norway. He was tired of talking about people from Africa. He didn't want them coming over. Anyway, so I bring some of those points. Those are facts. So they're not even innuendos. So I bring those points out to my brothers and sisters, and they tend to understand better. You might like him for other reasons, but the person definitely has some form of implicit biases within himself. If he has the powers, he will do, he could do damages to you. So those are some of the things that I've been working on. But we do have a lot of people here. I'm going to get my people. I'm going to get the link here, get our people within the Nigerian community to make their donations and do support. And we just keep up with evangelism. So I thank you guys very much for your activism. It's not easy to just come out, volunteer your time, do things for the betterment of humanity. I appreciate you guys. And meanwhile, I own a We for We Media. I'm a media person, and I'm also a filmmaker from Nigeria, and I'm a music producer as well. So I've worked on a lot of entertainment stuff, music-wise, documentaries, just for the empowerment and betterment of our people. So we get to talk more about it. Congratulations, and thank you guys very much for your efforts. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Val. So we'll see you next week, right? Same time,
yes,
same place?
Definitely.
Thank you. And please copy that donation link and share with your people.
I'm copying that now.
Thank you.
Yeah, and even the phone banking one.
Kobe Maxwell hands up. Is that person? Is that an old one?
Yes, my hand is up.
Go ahead, Mr. Maxwell.
Thank you. Good evening, and I just want to contribute to what my last brother said. I was in Texas for a wedding over the weekend, and it was one Nigerian musician who may be our guest maybe next week. His wedding, and there was a lot of them, and I'm just collaborating with what he said. A lot of Nigerians believe in Trump's than the other side, and I used my my little influence to educate, even though some of us were the groomsmen, and on the room where we are gathering together, we're talking about politics. I brought it up, and I could see how they feel like Trump is better and all that, and I used the best of my influence to kind of educate them the downside of what they feel about just the president, but the down ballot. And before we finished the wedding, that we all came together, hung out and stuff. A lot of them started saying that, okay, I'm right. They think it's more than just, voting for Trump. So
exactly,
we need to keep talking, like you said. And I will love this. We had a group chat, and I would love to get all the link, the donation link, the phone banking, and share on that platform. And I believe that some of them will donate and support the good, because we spoke about it and they were all convinced at some point. So I would love to follow up and keep sharing this movement that we are doing here with them. That's all I just want to contribute to the.
Great. So you were Wiz Boy's wedding, huh?
Yes, I was Wiz Boy's wedding. Yes.
Wow,
Thank
that's
you,
nice.
Brother Maxwell. I think Brother Maxwell and Brother Val, you guys said it all. We gotta reach out to our people and educate them. I think that goes a long way, and we have to collectively do it. And again, the donation is Africans in the Diaspora for Harris-Walz. Collectively, the African diaspora get the credit for this. I know individually in the past we all have donated, but when we donate under this Africans in the Diaspora link, we get credit for it. And we could try to get a seat on this table so we can make a change after this Harris win. So definitely thank you guys for what you guys have contributed, and thank you for what you shared. I think there was another hand that was up as well, right?
Yeah, we got Joe.
Yeah, Brother Sacco from Pennsylvania. We're coming your way, sir. What do you have for us?
Hello, everyone. I mean, great. I really enjoyed all the speakers as usual. Thanks to all our great panelists tonight. I was really, really inspired by all the speakers tonight. First of all, my first question, I know you guys are coming to Pennsylvania. Do we know which city in Pennsylvania you will be coming? Is it or not yet?
I believe it's Philadelphia, right?
So,
yeah, that was the last conversation, right? That Philly was where.
It's Philly and suburbs of Philly, but we definitely will be keep in touch with you. It's Philly and suburbs of Philly. Yes,
absolutely. Okay, that would be great. So, what we have been doing here on the ground in partnership with MoveOn.org Philadelphia base. So I organized some registration of our people last Friday. I went to the local mosque on Friday. We registered probably about 22 people, which is not bad. 22 is enough at least to determine the outcome of the election in Pennsylvania. So little by little. So this Friday, Sunday, we went to 2 different churches and we registered 3 people. And this Friday, we're going to another local Black American, church to do some registration. Just to piggyback on one of the speakers regarding, some of the perception that our people have regarding Trump versus Kamala. Yeah, we have a little bit of work to do in our various communities, especially. I'm from Liberia. There are a lot of Liberians that hold the view that it was during Trump administration that many of them that lived in this country for so many years that they couldn't get paper. Trump was the one that granted them their green card and their blah. So I tried to tell them it was not Trump. Okay, so I had to convince them and also give them presented the facts to them that it was not. There's no way that Trump will look at Liberians that have been living in this country here to say, okay, you know what, I'm giving you guys a green card. No, it was not. Okay, and I give them all the facts because I was deeply involved in the advocacy in Washington D.C. So I give them all the facts, and I said, "Oh, we didn't know that." Okay, yes. So at least we are making some headway in convincing some of these people that thinking that it was Trump that actually granted them their green card, that regularized their statuses. So on Saturday, next week Saturday, the PA Dem actually reached out to me that October 20th, that will be a Kamala birthday, that we should organize something to, celebrate, the birthday with GOTV event and also a mass registration. And might be the 20, probably the 26th again, since our colleagues from Maryland come in, then maybe we can also organize something in Maryland, in Philadelphia as well. But so far, so good in Philadelphia. But we still have to do a lot of work. Yeah, we still have to do a lot of work because I do not, there's some people just want to sit idly by and thinking that, oh, yeah, there'll be a miracle. And I'm telling everyone, please, 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 do not depend on these polls and just sit down to say, oh yeah, you know what, the enthusiasm, the polls are in our favor, and therefore let's just lay back and we'll win, and not showing up at the polls. All right, that's not going to happen. That's not going to make us win. All right. So if you have any relatives in Maryland, Pennsylvania, let us begin to call. Let's begin to call friends, neighbors, and encourage them. If they don't have transportation, I've been telling most of our people, I say, look, on election day, a lot of people call out. That's the time our people like to pick up their doubles and their triples and all of this stuff. But this election, please, and I've been begging people that is the day that everyone should put in for their vacation. If there are a few hours, you can go early. A post open very early. You can go early and vote. Okay, that won't spoil anything. That 1 hour or few hours, you get to be there to vote. So, but I really appreciate the leadership and all the organizers for this forum. We got to work together. Someone said, this issue of, oh yeah, this person from Haiti, this person from Guinea, Sierra Leone, and all of this stuff. Listen, the same stick they're going to use to beat a Sierra Leonean or Liberian, that's the same stick they're going to use to beat you too. So yes, also have that at the back of your mind. All right. Yes. So kudos to all of you, and I look forward to meeting all of you, or some of you on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Sako. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Yep.
And Famata, anyone else on there that had a question, a statement? It's 10:46 now.
I don't see anyone, and it is late, so we don't want to hold people
Excellent.
much longer.
And we've covered everyone.
I think so.
Anyone has any last thing to say? If we didn't reach you earlier. Most important, let's continue to energize ourselves, to organize ourselves and mobilize ourselves, and do not take this election for granted, because let's continue to reach out to our community, and some of our people still need some convincing. Let's keep doing it.
Thanks, everyone. We appreciate you.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a very good night.
Miney.
Hi, Gojo.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Oh, fine. How are you doing?
Everybody.
Right, thank God.
Good to hear your voice.
Yes, okay.
He's still going strong.
I know.
How are your parents doing? Okay.
They're doing fine, thank you.
I'll
tell them we spoke today.
Yeah, I talked to them.
How about your great speech?
Yeah, I talked to them sometimes.
Okay, we go talk.
All right, guys. Okay. Good night, everyone.
All right, then.
Good night, everyone.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, don't forget to get your signs, put them on your yard.
Yes, indeed.
Fatmata, how are you?
Yes, sir. How are
Good
you,
night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone.